The heavy crystal tumbler shattered against the cream-colored drywall, leaving a dent that matched the crater in my chest. Shards of glass rained down onto the hardwood floor like diamonds falling in slow motion. My wife, Sarah, was already on her knees, her hands covering her face, making sounds like a wounded animal. But I wasn't looking at her. I was staring dead into the eyes of the man sitting across from me. My brother, Mark. The silence in the dining room was loud enough to make my ears ring. The 23andMe printout lay in the center of the table between the roasted chicken and the mashed potatoes. It was supposed to be a fun birthday gift for my daughter, Emily. Just a little science project to see where we came from. Instead, it was a death sentence for my life as I knew it. Say something, I growled, my voice sounding like gravel grinding together. Mark didn't blink. He didn't flinch. He just took a sip of his beer, his hand trembling just enough to cause ripples in the amber liquid. My mother, sitting at the head of the table, finally found her voice. "John, please, you're scaring the children upstairs," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Scaring the children?" I laughed, a dry, hysterical sound that scraped my throat. "You should be scared of me right now, Mom. Look at the paper." I pointed a shaking finger at the red circle I had drawn with a Sharpie hours ago in the parking lot. "Look at it," I roared, slamming my hand on the table so hard the silverware jumped. 25% shared DNA with me. 50% shared DNA with Mark. The math didn't lie. The science didn't care about anniversary trips or Christmas mornings. The algorithms didn't give a damn about 10 years of marriage. Emily wasn't my daughter. She was my niece. Sarah finally looked up, her mascara running in thick black rivers down her pale cheeks. "It was a mistake, John. It was before we got serious. It was during the break." The break. I stepped toward her, and she recoiled as if I were about to strike her. "We were living together, Sarah? We had just signed the lease." I swung my head back to Mark. "And you? You stood beside me as my best man. You gave the toast. You godfathered her." Mark finally set the beer down. He looked tired. He looked annoyed, actually. "It happened once, John. We were drunk. We thought you guys were done." She came over to cry. One thing led to another. One thing led to another. I repeated, letting the cliché hang in the air like toxic smoke. "And then you let me raise her? For 7 years. I didn't know." Mark snapped, finally showing some teeth. "How was I supposed to know? She got pregnant. You guys got back together. The timeline matched you. You never thought to ask? You never thought to use protection with your brother's girlfriend?" My father, who had been silent until now, cleared his throat. "John, sit down. Let's discuss this like adults. There are assets involved. There is a child involved." "Assets?" I stared at my dad, feeling a new wave of nausea. "My life is over, and you're talking about assets." "I'm talking about reputation," my dad said, his jaw set tight. "We are not going to air this laundry to the town. Mark is running for city council next year." The room spun. I felt the bile rising in my throat. They weren't shocked by the incestuous betrayal. They were worried about the poll numbers. "You knew," I whispered, the realization hitting me harder than the whiskey I had downed in the car. I looked from my mom to my dad. "You guys knew." My mom looked away, picking at a loose thread on the tablecloth. "We suspected," she murmured softly. She looked so much like Mark did at that age. The eyes, the chin. "But we wanted you to be happy," my dad added quickly. "You were finally settled. You were doing so well at the firm. Why ruin it? Why ruin it?" I screamed, kicking the chair backwards so hard it toppled over. "Because it's a lie. Every single day was a lie." Sarah reached out to grab the hem of my jeans. "John, please. I love you. You are her father. Biology doesn't matter." I looked down at her, at the woman I had worshipped since college. I remembered holding her hair back while she puked during morning sickness. I remembered the ice chips. I remembered cutting the cord. I remembered the first time Emily said "Dada." And every single one of those memories was now tainted with the image of my brother. "Don't touch me," I said, my voice ice cold. I yanked my leg away. "I want you out. Tonight. This is my house, too." She sobbed. "Not anymore. Not after what I found in the safe." That stopped her cold. Her eyes went wide. Mark shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "What was in the safe, John?" Mark asked, his voice lower. "I was looking for the birth certificate to upload for the ancestry site," I said, walking toward the door. "And I found the note. The one you wrote her the day before our wedding." Sarah gasped. "You kept it?" I said to her, shaking my head in disbelief. You kept the note where he begged you not to marry me, where he said he loved you. That was years ago. Mark yelled, standing up now. So it wasn't just one night? I challenged him. Sit down, Mark. My dad barked. But I was done listening to orders. I'm going upstairs to pack a bag. I can't be under this roof. You can't leave Emily. Sarah screamed. She's sleeping. She doesn't know anything. She knows her Uncle Mark is funny. I said, my voice breaking. She knows her grandma loves her. She just doesn't know her dad is a ghost. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my heart hammering against my ribs. I pushed open the door to the master bedroom. The room smelled like her perfume. Lavender and vanilla. A scent that used to calm me down. Now it made me want to vomit. I grabbed the duffel bag from the closet. I threw in shirts, jeans, socks, not even checking if they matched. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely zip the bag. I heard footsteps behind me. It was Mark. He stood in the doorway, leaning against the frame like he owned the place. You walk out now, you lose everything, he said calmly. I already lost everything. I spat back. No, you didn't. You still have the house. You still have the job. You still have the kid. She's not my kid, Mark. She's yours. I don't want her, he said coldly. The words hung there. Excuse me. I don't want to be a dad, John. That's why I didn't say anything. You wanted the white picket fence. I wanted my freedom. You let me raise your child because you were too selfish to step up? I let you raise her because you were better at it, he yelled. Look at me, John. I'm a mess. I drink too much. I cheat on my girlfriends. I can't hold down a relationship. You're a great dad. Biology doesn't change that. It changes everything when it's based on a lie. I pushed past him, slamming my shoulder into his chest. He stumbled but didn't fight back. He knew he would lose if it came to blows tonight. I walked down the hallway to Emily's room. The door was cracked open. The nightlight cast a soft pink glow on her Peppa Pig bedspread. She was curled up with her thumb in her mouth, looking so peaceful. She had my nose. No, she didn't. She had Mark's nose. I had just been seeing myself because I wanted to. I looked at her blonde curls. Mark was blonde until he was 10. I was always dark-haired. How did I not see it? How did I let myself be so blind? I wanted to go in and kiss her forehead, but I couldn't. I felt like a stranger intruding in someone else's life. I turned away, tears burning my eyes hot and fast. Downstairs, the arguing had stopped. They were plotting. They were probably figuring out how to spin this. How to keep Mark's campaign clean. How to keep the family name untarnished. I walked into the kitchen, the duffel bag slung over my shoulder. Sarah was smoking a cigarette by the back door, something she hadn't done in years. She didn't look at me. I transferred half the savings to a separate account, I said. The lawyer will call you Monday. John, please don't do this, she whispered. It's done, Sarah. You did this. Not me. Where will you go? Doesn't matter. I walked out the front door into the cool night air. The streetlights buzzed overhead. My car was parked in the driveway behind Mark's Porsche. Even his car was flashier than mine. Everything he did was flashier. And apparently, he took whatever he wanted. I threw the bag into the passenger seat. I keyed the ignition. The engine roared to life, shattering the suburban silence. I backed out, my headlights sweeping across the front lawn. I saw my mom watching from the living room window. She wasn't crying. She looked disappointed. Disappointed that I couldn't just swallow the poison and smile. I drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove until the houses turned into strip malls, and the strip malls turned into highway. My phone buzzed on the console. It was Mark. Then Sarah. Then my dad. I blocked them all, one by one. The silence in the car was suffocating. I pulled into a Motel 6 about 40 miles out of town. The neon sign flickered with a low hum. I checked in under a fake name. Why? I don't know. Paranoia? Spite. The room smelled like stale smoke and lemon pledge. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. I pulled the crumbled DNA test out of my pocket. I had snagged it before I left. I read the numbers again. Probability of paternity, 0%. Probability of half-sibling relationship, 24.8%. It was ironclad. I turned on the TV just to have some noise. Some late-night infomercial was selling knives that could cut through pennies. I felt like the penny. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. It was Mark, probably from a burner or a friend's phone. If you leave, you can't come back. Emily woke up crying, asking for you. Are you really going to punish her for our mistakes? I stared at the screen. The guilt hit me like a sledgehammer. Emily. She was 7. She didn't understand DNA. She just knew her dad wasn't there to read the bedtime story. But every time I looked at her now, I would see him. I would see the betrayal. I would see the lie that my entire marriage was built on. I typed a response, deleted it, typed another one. She's your daughter, Mark. You go read to her. I hit send before I could change my mind. I threw the phone across the room onto the other bed. I laid back and stared at the water stain on the ceiling. My bank account was shared. My house was joint. My family was a syndicate of liars. I closed my eyes, but sleep was miles away. I replayed the last 7 years in high speed. Every look Sarah exchanged with Mark at Thanksgiving. Every time they laughed a little too hard at each other's jokes. Every time Mark bought Emily a gift that was too expensive. It all made sense now. It was a mosaic of deceit, and I was the only one who hadn't seen the picture. Morning came too fast. Sunlight bled through the thin curtains. I felt hungover though I hadn't drank since the dinner. I showered in the lukewarm water, scrubbing my skin until it turned red. I wanted to wash the DNA off me. I wanted to wash the name Smith off my driver's license. I got dressed and grabbed a coffee from the lobby. It tasted like burnt rubber. I turned my phone back on. 30 voicemails. 50 texts. One from Sarah caught my eye. Emily won't eat. She says she's waiting for Daddy to make pancakes. Please, John, just come talk to her. I gripped the styrofoam cup until it cracked, hot coffee leaking onto my knuckles. I didn't feel the burn. I needed a lawyer. A shark. Someone who would burn the earth souther than Carthage. I Googled divorce attorneys in the area. I found one with 5 stars and a review that said he destroyed my ex-husband. Perfect. I drove to the office without an appointment. The receptionist looked at my disheveled hair and wrinkled shirt. I need to see Mr. Henderson. Now. He's fully booked, sir. Tell him it's about the Anderson family. Tell him I have a DNA test that will blow the city council election wide open. Her eyes widened. She picked up the phone. 2 minutes later, I was sitting in a leather chair that cost more than my car. Mr. Henderson was a small man with eyes like beady lasers. I told him everything. I showed him the test. I told him about the assets. I told him about the election. He listened without interrupting, tapping a gold pin against his pad. When I finished, he leaned back and smiled. A predatory smile. We can destroy them, John. We can take the house, a chunk of the trust, and we can make sure your brother never holds office. Do it, I said. But, he paused, holding up a finger. There's the matter of the child. My stomach dropped. What about her? If you blow this up, the paternity becomes public record. The child will know. The school will know. The town will know. She will be that girl for the rest of her life. Also, if you deny paternity to avoid child support, you lose all visitation rights immediately. You will be a stranger to her legally. Is that what you want? I stared at the diploma on his wall. I thought about Emily's ballet recital next week. I thought about how she squeezed my hand when she was scared of thunder. If I went nuclear, I saved my pride and punished the traitors. But I would destroy a 7-year-old girl who did nothing wrong. If I stayed quiet, if I played nice for the divorce, I would be letting them get away with it. Mark would become councilman. Sarah would play the victim. And I would be the sap paying child support for my brother's kid. Mr. Anderson? The lawyer asked. I'm thinking, I said, my voice hollow. There is a third option, he said softly. We leverage the silence. We make them pay you a lump sum to keep the secret. You walk away rich, but you walk away alone. And Emily? She stays with them. You move to another state. You start over. Selling my daughter, I whispered. Selling a secret, he corrected. She's not your daughter, remember? The words cut deep. Technically true. Emotionally false. I walked out of the office without signing anything. I needed air. I sat on a park bench overlooking the lake. Families were walking by. Dads pushing strollers. Moms chasing toddlers. I watched a guy teaching his son to ride a bike. The kid fell. The dad picked him up, brushed off his knees, and hugged him. Would Mark ever do that? No. Mark would tell the kid to toughen up. Mark would be at a campaign fundraiser. Sarah would be on her phone. Emily would be alone. But was that my problem anymore? They stole my life. Why should I sacrifice the rest of it to clean up their mess? My phone buzzed again. A picture message from Sarah. It was Emily holding a sign she made with crayons. I miss you, Daddy. Come home. The crayons were smudged with tears. I felt a sob build in my chest that was so painful it felt like a heart attack. I was at the crossroads. Path A, total war. Expose Mark. Ruin the election. Shame Sarah. Destroy the family. Lose Emily forever. Path B. The payoff. Take the money. Disappear. Let Emily think I abandoned her, but keep her shielded from the scandal. Path C. The martyr. Go back. Swallow the pride. Co-parent a child that isn't mine while watching my brother live the life I built. Just to protect her happiness that I looked at the lake water, murky and cold. I knew what the hero would do. I also knew what a self-respecting man should do. The problem was, I didn't know which one I was anymore. I stood up and walked to the edge of the water. I took the DNA test out of my pocket one last time. The wind whipped the paper around. I pulled out my lighter. The flame flickered in the breeze. I held it to the corner of the page. The fire caught, curling the paper brown then black. I watched my genetic truth turn to ash. But burning the paper didn't change the blood, and it didn't fix the heart. I dropped the burning ash into the water and turned around. I walked back to my car. I knew where I had to drive, but I didn't know if I was going there to hug them or to burn the house down. TLDR. Found out my daughter is my brother's child. Family wants to cover it up for politics. Now I have to choose between revenge and the innocent child's heart. What would you do? Do I burn it all down and traumatize the kid with the truth? Or do I take the payoff and let her hate me for leaving, just to protect her from the shame of her origin?